Okay, here's this week's project. It's 5 chairs, one of which is the captain's chair, brought in by a client, a commission. They were actually, I had been recommended to them. You know, they are in pretty rough condition. They were purchased new in the 80s and just have seen a lot of wear and tear over the years. I believe the person said that they bought them as unfinished furniture and refinished them themselves. So, I don't know how thick the finish is on here. They're pretty dirty and may need some bleaching. And of course, money is an object. The person wants to keep the costs down. I don't think he really understands, refinishing, that's okay. So he wants me to do as little technical work as necessary. So I am going to start by taking them outside, giving them a really good wash, seeing what they look like after they're washed, after they dry. I'm not going to make any judgments until after they dry. So tomorrow we'll look at how they came out after washing, and then I'll see if they could use some oxalic acid. I'm looking at this chair right here. That looks really, really, really dirty. But you never know. That might come off with just simple soap and water and a little detergent. So I also said that I might try, I don't know how that is. I'm going to see if I can release these arms because the person does not like the arms. He said they don't fit under his table. So I told him I would take a look at that. And if this can come out easily and I can simply fill it with some wood, carved wood, doweling or something, and make it look pretty good, at least he'll get more use out of that without the arms. So I will take it apart and take a look at that. Some of the rungs are loose and some have come apart. You can see right here. This is on the bottom in there. So yeah, let's drag them outside. It is so cold. It's snowing. Now, it is so cold while I'm doing this, and my hands are stiff, and it's almost like I can't get my fingers to work. It's just so cold. The client said that he left these outside for several months for some reason, whether he was moving something or rearranging the house, and he ended up leaving them outside for, I think he said several months. Make a difference. I don't know what that is. All right, so with everything cleaned and dried for several days, I'm going to start with this captain's chair to go over the repairs because this was one of the chairs that the customer didn't like because of the arms. So I'm going to see how that would be to remove these arms. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop out these little covers, and they must be screwed in. I'm sure they're screwed in. And then this obviously is a dowel, but let's let's tip it over just to see what the bottom looks like. Nope, those are screwed in too. I don't know if I showed you that. Right in that empty spot, there must be a screw in there. So I don't think it's going to be that difficult. Let's give that a try. Not sure if this will work, but cool. So I'm going to try to do it gently without breaking any wood around the edge. And so I guess I'm going to try to heat it up. Here we go. Oh boy. These are wooden dowels that have been, looks like epoxy to me. I won. So I just wanted to show you the second one. It literally broke in half. It came out, but the spindle broke in half, and it's not even really loose. So yeah, I just wanted to show you that. We got right in there, digging away at it. I can even see daylight, but it's just stuck in there. So I'm going to keep chiseling it out. It actually came out easily after that with a chisel, but you can see now I have to fix that. So I'm filling the holes for the armrests with the 1/4-inch dowels, and I'm just pushing them all the way through. So this is chair number 2 that I'm fixing, and it's really wobbly, and the bottom rung is broken, and one part of the stretcher is off on the other side. I'll have to feel around it and see how bad the rest of them are, but I think it's just that, so let's take a look at that now. So here we go, is the bottom rung stretcher, horizontal, and this is the other direction right here. So this is really loose. Someone, now let me take the camera off and show you. Someone has nailed it. So you can see right here, there's a nail. I'm going to try to take it out all the way and reseat this with some glue. It's not quite. I'm going to try it with a different hammer. It just has a little sharper edge there. Yeah, there we go. You little bugger. All of the legs on this particular chair are very loose, so I have to remove them and glue them back in. I'll have to remove all the old glue. Time to get the drill. Sometimes you can create a small burr in the screw slot that your screwdriver can dig into. You just have to be careful not to break the screw, which I have done. It's coming. Had these been installed properly in the first place, that wouldn't have cracked, but because they just didn't do it properly, it cracked. I use a sock around it so it doesn't press into the wood. It's coming. Got it. I'm cutting the better shaped dowel that I inserted to replace the old one. I'm going to start stripping the chairs now to see how much finish I can remove. I'm not sure because I think it's polyurethane and that's usually pretty resistant. I spent the better part of a day with the stripper and it was pretty exhausting. Okay, what you're going to see is that they actually put this together with silicone, stretchy silicone type of caulking. I realized the chairs weren't created that well in the first place as far as its construction, but it's no wonder that the leg didn't stay together with silicone caulking. It's pretty amazing. So the chairs are all stripped, and yeah, they look a lot better. There's one that I have to put together. That was one that had really loose legs. But yeah, they're looking a lot better. The tops are much cleaner. So I'm going to do just a light sanding on these. Not because I don't want to do the work, but because the client doesn't want to get involved in that much of an investment for these chairs. So I want to give him enough bang for the buck because he was recommended to me, so I want to be good to him. But yeah, so light sanding, almost a scuff sand. And here on this captain's chair, I have my sander out already, a couple of different sanders. On the captain's chair, I have to do some colors on there, see if I can hide those. I think he'll be pleased anyway because he really didn't like this chair, you know. So I'll be doing that today as well. So before I get to staining, I want to put the legs back on this chair that I had to take apart. So in order to make sure I was going to get it in a similar angle to the chairs that are in good condition structurally, I put one of the good chairs up on my table here. And what I did was I just got this instead of measuring angles with a piece of paper like I did in one of my recent videos. This actually gives you the angles of what you're measuring. Now I could take this to the saw and use that as a guide, but all I want to do here is make sure that as I'm inserting the legs, I'm inserting them in as close a proximity as I can to a good chair. So what I first did was look at the bottom of the feet and make sure that they're actually splayed out in the correct position, because there's a little backward bevel here, a negative bevel, so that the chair has the leg sitting out, but it still sits flat on the floor. So there's two of those and two of these. And as I measure it, I can see that these two angles are a little bit different than the bottom two angles, but the bottom two and the top two are exactly the same as each other. So that's a good sign. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that, and I'll take you closer so you can see. You probably already know, but bear with me. So right here, what I did was I just laid it on the top portion, you know, horizontal to the ceiling, and I got the angle to which it's sitting flush at that angle. And then I just push this out until it reaches the bottom of the chair. So it's not exact science, of course, because and I'm not cutting an angle. I'm just using it so that I can more or less get them in the same position that they were. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip it over and just make sure that this is the same angle, which it is. See how nicely it sits right there? But the top, of course, is different. So I'm going to have to adjust for that. But yeah, so what I will do is I'll take this over, and I have this chair set up in the same direction. And what I will do is I will, put my protractor here and insert, one of the bottom legs and then angle it so that it's in the same angle. So that's going to help me a lot. Okay. So I've actually been working for hours angling these so they'll go back together again. You have to know that these parts that they're using are just commercial parts. They just grab, rung A and they're going, to leg B. They're not working these to close tolerance. It's probably an assembly line. So they just kind of make them fit. Now, what I had to do was I had to grind these out more at the right angle. There's like an angle that it has to sit at. So I had to do each one so that it would accept a leg at the right angle. And then I had to change the end of the stretchers. Now, these were just straight, 180-degree cuts. And what I did was I angled them so that they would actually fit and splay at the right angle. So I put it upside down, and that's the dry fit. So now I figure out where I'm going to put my clamps. I made sure it was square. Okay, so this is going to dry overnight. And these chairs, now they look funny because they've been scuff sanded only. I filled some of the cracks with putty, filled some of the holes with putty. There's also where the arms used to be, we filled those in, and that has more putty. This is the terrible black stain here. So just in case you're wondering, I do have these things on most every day in the winter, but it's not like I wear them without getting laundered. So everything got laundered last night, including my shoes. And I have 2 pairs of these, and so I switch them on and off. Same pair, different color. So here's the moment of truth. Meaning, is the chair going to be level once it hits the floor? And no, I did have to sand down 2 of the legs. They do look good from this direction. Now we have to work on the seats. But from the front, not so good. So I have to figure out what I'm going to do. I noticed that the gel stain just wasn't, even with the shellac, which should have helped, and I think it did help. It helped a lot. But you can see that this picked up black again. Just kind of crazy. So now what I need to do is, believe it or not, I have to sand just the tops of the chairs. I'm going to sand the tops of the chairs. And I'm going to do some oxalic acid very carefully so it doesn't drip onto the rest of the chair body, the legs, you know, and the top. See if I can't reach that out, which I should have done in the first place. I mixed up some oxalic acid with hot water. Okay, so I did sand all the chairs down. I did the oxalic acid on the worst one right there, and I'm still waiting for it to dry. I did some tonal spray, and I did a little bit of color correction, which looks really weird at this point. But I'm hoping that all this will somewhat come together. I don't know what's going to happen with this. Even the tonal spray didn't help that much, so I'm going to try some color correction on this too. And it doesn't matter to me, like, whether you do it before or after the spray. It's just so that it has some kind of surface to put that gel stain on. Now, usually gel stains cover really well, especially that dark walnut, but for some reason, it's just not doing it with these chairs. So this is my last hurrah. If that doesn't work, I don't know. This is just as good as it gets sometimes. Sometimes you just have to go with it. The backs and the legs look gorgeous, though. They're absolutely beautiful. Came out really, really nice. So, yep. A lot of this is being done off camera just because, you know, what I'll do is I'll do a little bit of color correction now, and I'll show you how I do that. And then I'm going to do more gel stain off camera. Okay, so this looks kind of crazy while it's being done, but bear with me. What it does is just creates a surface, and then hopefully, I mean, the goal is so that when I put the gel stain on, it's able to adhere, and it has like a little mirror of a wood grain underneath it. So I usually start with the lightest one. These, I've already taken these out because I had them for the other side, for that chair rather. So I start with the lightest color, and what I do is I just do some tiny marks, and as your hand comes away from it, it actually dries. The material dries. So you don't want to be scrubbing over and over it, because that's when you get these really like big blotchy things. So not just a little bit at a time. At least that's what works for me. I don't know, maybe you have a different way of doing it. I'm going to put just a little bit of I'm going to use some 4-aught steel wool to just barely touch it, and then spray it with shellac. Looking better so far. They're still drying. But yeah, I just have to wait for that chair to dry so I can restain it. Hopefully it will work out. I might have to wait until tomorrow, unfortunately, because I don't want to do it while it's wet at all. And it's just, whatever this stain is, it really holds the water. And that's after oxalic acid ×2. So, well, it's morning and that spot dried, and wow, I am amazed at how much better it looks. But you can see it even more in the camera. In reality, it's just a slight gray, but my thought is, how is it going to pick up the stain? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a good, it's so dry, I wish I could oil it a little bit. But I'm going to give it a good several layers of shellac around that spot in the hopes that the stain will not come through, and maybe the gel stain can cover it. I don't know. I'm not going to be thinking about that. So, though the surface of that seat looks great right now, the problem was, as I applied the gel stain afterwards, the back near the rungs picked up really heavy. This is extremely frustrating. I know the client isn't willing to invest a lot of money into these chairs, but I want my work to reflect as much restoration and beauty as possible, and it's a hard line to meet. Here I'm using Waterlock's tongue oil, which has an added resin to make the finish harder and more durable than simple tongue oil. As you can see from the earlier condition of these chairs, this client is really hard on furniture, and I'd be willing to bet he doesn't plan on babying this furniture going forward. I could have used another polyurethane, but I hate the way it looks and hate the way it wears, cracks and peels. I think, or I hope with the tongue oil, that it will seep into the grain of the wood and be less likely to crack, even with the added resin. Thank you for watching this week's video. This week, or past couple of weeks actually, it's been several weeks that I've been working on these chairs that came into me from a client, and I was recommended to him by another small business, which I thought was really nice. And, you know, I had to make a few choices on how much work was going to be involved because there was a money factor. I won't go into the limits of the money factor, but you can imagine. But at the same time, you know, when you have your name on a product, you want it to be as nice as possible. So I chose on my own to do more than what was called for because I wanted it to be really nice. I had to remove the arms from one of the chairs, from the captain's chair. I had to repair the legs. There are still a few chairs that in this little fivesome that what is that, a tetrad? That The glue jobs are not perfect, but because of the money factor, see, I'm not going to take that apart. So they're solid, they're in there properly, they work, they're even. So I'm going to leave it as is. If it was a different type of job request, then of course, I would have taken it all apart. I had some issues with the finishes. I had to strip them a few times. And I mean, you saw the whole thing of the color correction. And actually, yesterday I did the resin with the tongue oil. That's a Waterlocks finish. But these chairs technically aren't complete yet, because what I want to do is, I don't really like the shiny finish that much. And I don't want to use Waterlocks over and over again just because of the money factor and the fact that I think the client is pretty hard on the chairs. So after this tongue oil has really dried for, I would say, 72 hours, I'm going to go over it with some acrylic clear coat. And then finally, it will be in a satin finish or even a matte finish, probably a matte finish, because I just think it will look better for what he has. He has a rustic setting, and I think this is a little bit much probably for him. So there will be that, and then I will end it all with a coat of wax. And I will let him wait he said time was no factor, so I'll let him wait, probably a good 30 days just to make sure that wax cures, because I know they're going to get some rough handling. So, but this chair, though I thought I had it locked in yesterday, I'm going to give you a little closer look at it. I had to order more toner today, a different color. I got the, I think it was just a brown toner, and I'm going to have to do some more color correction with that. I may even opt to strip it one more time, just strip the entire top of the seat, not anything else, just the top of the seat, and do it again, because even though it looked like the bleach had taken off all the stains, there were additional stains on the back, and even though I put shellac there to prevent that extra absorption of my gel stain, it still did. So I don't know. I'm going to take a look at it tomorrow when I get my new spray. I might try spraying it and see if I can just make it work with just a spray. But anyway, if you follow me on Instagram, and I'm not telling you to follow me on Instagram, but if you follow me on Instagram, you'll see the work that I do the end of this particular chair. And I will just have a few short excerpts in there to show you what I did if you're interested. And let me get a little closer and I'll show you this bad boy right here. Okay, so you can see that I tried to just lighten this up with some sandpaper and a little bit of golden oak. But like I said, I have another spray coming. So I don't know if I'll be able to work that out with just the spray and more gel stain, or whether I'm going to have to actually strip just the seat. But you see how nice this looks now with the matte finish. I want it to look like that. All the chairs. I want all the chairs to look like that in the matte finish. So it's too bad. It's too bad it was just that one spot near the turnings and near the back rungs there. So, and otherwise, the fill-ins look pretty good. They're still pretty rustic, and I couldn't take every mark out. But I think he will be very impressed with the amount of work that I got done. They were in such terrible condition. So, yeah.